Hello and welcome to the Trumped Up Podcast. I am your host, Keith Rao, and this is Season 3, Episode 5, and we're really getting into the election season now. We're roughly 50 days out. I believe it's slightly less than that, or slightly more than that. I don't know the exact number. But it's November 3rd, 2020. But if you're like me in your state, you can go out and vote early and do it in person. That's preferred choice. If you do want to get a ballot at home like these people are pushing, I suggest highly that you request an absentee ballot instead of just getting an unsolicited ballot. Here in Massachusetts, they send you a pamphlet in the mail asking you if you want to vote, then send this form back, and if you don't, well, rip that thing up, shred it, burn it in your fire pit, whatever, because you don't want somebody else requesting your ballot. But personally, I'm going to go out and vote as early as possible because I can't wait to cast my vote to re-elect President Donald J. Trump as president, which is now way more important than ever. I mean, you hear every 2 and 4 years, this is the most important election in history of our country, the most important election in our country's history. But this election is the most important election in the history of the world, not just the United States, the world. It's a fight between, like we talked about in the last episode, the Tale of Two Americas, the chaos and the destruction and the rioting and the looting and the defunding the police and the insanity and the free healthcare for everyone, including aliens from outer space and whatever the hell policy these crazy people come up with. Or Biden was talking in his, I guess you could call it a rally. It wasn't really a rally, press conference, whatever. Event, we'll call it, with reporters that he didn't take any questions from. Big surprise. And then he talked about spending $2 trillion on infrastructure without raising taxes. So my question is, how are we going to spend $2 trillion, which is far, far too low of what we need to do for infrastructure in this country? It is way outdated and behind. They're always talking about broadband, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's faster internet than broadband. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in technology, but I mean, bringing broadband to rural areas. I mean, sometimes when Joe Biden's talking, it's like you went back to 1979 or 59 or something, because some of the policies he talks about are things that you would have campaigned on like in the 70s when they started shipping our jobs to China in drastic numbers. But yeah, I don't know how he's going to pay for $2 trillion. I say we have to spend at least $25 trillion on infrastructure. There's creative ways we could find the money to pay for that, I'm sure. But as you know, Democrats aren't usually bright enough to come up with these bright ideas. So we have some sad news to report this week. Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away at the age of 87. After a long battle with pancreatic cancer, according to media sources and a family member of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She asked that her dying wish was that Donald Trump doesn't appoint a Supreme Court nominee until after the election. Personally, I don't think it's going to matter either way because Donald Trump's going to win re-election. The Rasmussen poll came out yesterday, and he was leading Biden nationally by 1 point. And that was the most accurate poll in 2016. But these polls have been tightening up and tightening up and tightening up. After Trump came out of his rally, he didn't have any idea during the rally that Mrs. Ginsburg had passed away. So when reporters asked him about it, he said, "This is the first I heard of it." And then at the very end of answering his tough runway questions that he always takes, they tried to trigger him into answering if he was going to appoint a new person right away. And the poor woman had just passed away, and smartly Trump knew better than to answer the question, and he just ignored him. Got on the plane, went on with his life, and headed back to the White House. Now, Biden also made a few comments about her passing away, which every time I listen to Biden, I could sit there for 10 minutes and be like, what the hell did that guy just say? But it looked like he just woke up. I don't know if he was sleeping on the plane. Kind of looked like he was in a hotel, like, hallway or something when he was doing this. I think it kind of caught him off guard. Like, he did just wake up and they told him this news. But the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg is going to give Trump his third Supreme Court nomination pick. And we damn well either need him to get Mitch McConnell and all the Senate Republicans on board and pick somebody who can get through quick. And despite the craziness of the hearings we're going to watch, we'll get into that after the break, about the Supreme Court and what the ramifications of this means. But also, just because this is the third one, after re-election, you could get somebody to retire. You could get two people to retire or whatever, and then there could be more. But I'm pretty sure this passing of Ruth Ginsburg, as sad and somber it is, I have no hard feelings about the lady. I didn't agree with her beliefs, whatever. But hopefully she rests in peace and doesn't haunt the Supreme Court for the rest of its existence and wander the halls and mess with the new justices as they come in. But if you believe in the paranormal and you believe stuff like that, it would not shock me. It wouldn't shock me if the place is haunted by lots of former Supreme Court justices. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be right back with a Trumped Up podcast. Hey, you too can join the podcasting world and be one of the greatest podcasters out there. Build an audience, get sponsorships, earn money, and do many, many interesting things. You can also get listener support to help sponsor your show, all by using Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to become a podcaster. Anyone can do it. If you got something to say, or someone thinks you got something to say, or you just want to say something, come and join Anchor and join the podcasting revolution. Hello, and welcome back to the Trumped Up Podcast, Season 3, Episode 5, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court, and Election Consequences. I'm your host, Keith Brow. Remember, you can catch our podcast across a wide variety of podcasting platforms, so you can choose your favorite. You can go to Anchor. We've just been added to Amazon Music. That's an awesome thing. We also just joined Rumble. It's an alternative to YouTube. I highly suggest you go and join Rumble and you subscribe to the Trumped Up Podcast on Rumble. Also, go to Facebook Trumped Up Podcast page and like us there. Also, if you'd like to freely discuss your views, you can join the Trumped Up Podcast. Don't worry about the trolls. We get rid of them pretty quickly. We had some clown yesterday. He decided he wanted to keep reporting things like people pointing out Biden losing his mind, and he reports this as hate speech to the group. I don't know if he reported to Facebook, but after 3 times of him doing this stupid crap, I just said, you know what, bye-bye, have a nice day, you're banned, get lost, because we don't need your kind around here. We don't need that kind of negativity in our lives now, do we? No, there's enough of that in the streets of America, and we need more positivity in life. Yeah, the Trumped Up Podcast is growing quite well. The last episode, Tailing with Two Americas, actually was our top episode to date, but I hope this one goes even better and our numbers grow. Be wonderful. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone you can. Tell a Democrat. Really, my new pastime is just triggering liberals. You know, the other day I just went in the podcast name, because you can go and comment as your page on Facebook. That is how I bring in a lot of new listeners and followers to the Trumped Up Podcast. I deemed a term like farming, where you comment in the name of your page, post a link to your page or the podcast, which I usually use the podcast link, or one of several podcast links, or the link to the page, or I just comment as the page. And then when the people comment or they react to that comment, then I can go over there and interact as my page and invite them to like. A lot of you probably have followed us because of that, and I thank you despite however you discovered us. We always greatly thank you for your support. Now, before the end of the election or right after the election, actually, let's do it before. So if you go to anchor.fm/trumped-up, the podcast page, there's also on the Facebook page a use app link, and that'll take you there. Or you can go to one of the episodes that have been posted in the group or on the Facebook page. They'll always be right at the top when there's a new episode, and we'll leave that there until a new episode's released. But you can anonymously send us voice messages, and that would be great. And I'd love to hear what all of you people out there think, because this is just me talking, but I'd love to have all of you join us. I wish there was a call-in number, because that'd be cool. But there is actually a way where from either from your internet browser or your cell phone, you can go through the app or whatever. And I think maybe in a couple weeks I'll try again to get you all to come. I believe it's up to 6 or 8 people or 4 people besides myself can join in, and we can have a discussion and make this podcast even better. But with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court now is the top election issue on top of number 2, the economy. And I'd say 3 is a tie between COVID and healthcare, which is the Democrats' issue, which the one time they fixed it, we all seen what horribly went wrong with that and how bad it was. And thankfully Trump's destroying that. And, Biden keeps saying Trump's trying to take away your coverage for pre-existing health care. I'm pretty sure it would make a lot of sense if Trump would just sign an executive order requiring health insurance companies to cover pre-existing conditions. I mean, they campaign on this all the time, but it's just an issue for them. I mean, come up with some new issues, because you've been campaigning on healthcare and healthcare and healthcare, and they scare Biden's getting a lot of support because they're scaring them with, their Medicare's going to go bankrupt, and there's some common sense things you could do to fix Medicare and make it better and whatever. But yeah, the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and this appointment to the Supreme Court is going to affect the Supreme Court for generations. This is going to be a generational change of the Supreme Court. Bader Ginsburg was very liberal. She was an activist from the bench. She believed in interpreting the law in her way, in a really analytical way, and digging into it deeper, as opposed to enforcing the law as written, say freedom of speech. But that doesn't give you the right to yell there's a fire in a crowded theater, or do something stupid, or that doesn't allow you to attack somebody for their political beliefs. See, there's things that are hate crimes, like if you attacked somebody because of their race. But there should be 2 more categories added to this, and I think if we get a more conservative Supreme Court, that it's gonna be added. One would be attacking somebody for their political beliefs, especially in the climate we are now, where you can't even wear a MAGA hat in public. That should be a hate crime. And any attack on law enforcement or the military or federal officials or politicians or people in positions of power in our country, because look what happened to Steve Scalise, look what's happened to Rand Paul, look what just happened after the RNC, where these people were surrounding him. I mean, it's pretty funny when Newt Gingrich talked about Soros on Fox News. Harris Faulkner just went silent. I know they're owned by Disney now, and they're not the company they were once. I just have recently discovered Newsmax TV. I do watch that a little bit. I tend to watch Fox News more at nighttime when it's more Hannity and Tucker and Laura Ingraham, and you get more conservative opinion-based commentary as opposed to the stuff in the afternoon where they throw a lot more liberals in there and people like Juan Williams and the Marie Harf, Barf, whatever her name is, lady. Oh no, they're going to come get me because I said that. I don't really care. You ain't canceling me. I cancel you and your craziness. Oh my God, yeah, the stupidity in the world now and the craziness. And the sad reality is we've been in this quarantine stuff and the masks and all these crazy orders. And yeah, back to the Supreme Court thing. Yet again, another important thing. When businesses and citizens start suing their governments because of these overreaching orders and losing money, and if Trump gets a really conservative Supreme Court justice in there, it's going to side on the businesses, and all those orders were unconstitutional because you can't just make an order or institute something. There's no exclusion in the Constitution for during a pandemic. No, they didn't put this in there. These rules apply always and forever, forever and ever, unless somebody creates an amendment, which is really complicated, and you'd need a whole bunch of like 3/4 of the Senate, and it's highly unlikely any amendment to the Constitution is going to happen until you have like super majorities in the House, the Senate, and the White House. But I don't see any super majorities coming anytime soon, which, you know, normally Senate elections are just a local thing and it's more about the issues of that state. But now every one of these Senate races has just become nationalized because the Senate is the body of Congress that will confirm a Supreme Court justice. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Had a brain fart there. But when that's another factor, but then you got to take into when you get a conservative majority, although John Roberts doesn't always go our way, but maybe he'll be more likely to go our way now with another conservative on the Supreme Court. Or you never know, maybe the liberals will come to our side that are over there in the Supreme Court. You just never know. The crazy world we're in and the crazy things that happen, this is 100% possible. But Supreme Court decisions affect things like congressional districts and redistricting, which you've seen what just happened with a liberal Supreme Court. So now that's going to go back to the way of conservatives, and the redistricting will help win more seats and gain Republicans more power. But this also affects a lot of other things like religious freedom. The Second Amendment is 100% guaranteed to be around for a really long time because these things like gun-free zones, and they're going to be ruled unconstitutional under conservative constitutionalists, somebody who sticks to the interpretation of the Constitution the way it was written. If you want to make up new rules, as long as they're constitutional, that's where Congress is. This takes me to Pelosi and her stimulus stupidity, or whatever, additional relief funds for COVID. She's trying to postpone this till after the election, but I think the polling is just going to tank on them that you're just playing politics and you need to help the American people because they're struggling, which the Census Bureau just released some really good numbers that income went up $3,000 before this pandemic, but the Democrats' whole campaign of bad economy is based on what's happened in the last 6 months with this shutdown, but that's all coming back quickly. I mean, Biden talks about creating 1 million jobs. Hey, guess what? There was 1 million jobs created last month. And if you create $1 million a month, that's 12 million jobs. That's not an unrealistic expectation every month. And as things reopen more, you'll see the numbers you'll be getting 2 and maybe 3 million jobs a month. That's not far-fetched. And I think GDP next year, we're going to I'll say we'll be on the low end, somewhere between 1.75 and maybe on the high end, 2.25. But that's if Trump's reelected. If Biden reelected, I'm going to say our GDP is going to go to negative 1.75 or negative 1.5. I don't know. We're going to go into a recession because the policies they're going to create are just going to tank the economy. It's going to send companies back overseas, and nobody wants to pay high taxes. I mean, really, taxation is theft, if you think about it. I mean, it's bad enough that people have to go out and work, and a lot of people work in really tough jobs where they beat up their body, and then you have to pay a tax for beating up your body to make a living and survive. So somebody else can get some other benefit. But that's because of a lot of policies Democrats instituted. And hey, if you don't mind paying higher taxes and paying for all these things that nobody can really pay for, even if you tax the whole country at 75% of their income, you could never pay for all the stuff the Democrats claim they're going to do, which we all know is BS anyway because the Democrats don't do anything. But yeah, back to the Supreme Court thing again that I keep getting off track because there's so much that just goes on in the world, But I think it will be a win for school choice as well. I think we may finally, with a conservative Supreme Court, get voter ID nationally. And then elections will be more protected from interference. I don't get the Democrats who are always complaining about Russian interference, which the Russians posted some propaganda on Facebook. Oh, did you fall for it? Because I didn't. No. I listened to Donald Trump and I voted for Donald Trump because I liked what he was saying, because he was a businessman. I didn't vote for Donald Trump because, hey, he's a saint, he's Jesus. No. He's a New Yorker and he's a person. And he's a businessman, and he knows how the real world works, and he's lived in New York City where people talk like me. Not the liberal aspect, just the, hey, get going, we got to go, let's go, we got to do this, we got to go, we got to make money, we got to go here. Yeah, you people in the South that listen, I know you guys are a little more laid back, which probably is better for your health, but up here in the Northeast, man, we're just let's go, 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 we got to get it done. It's just one thing after another. It's like the ADHD of the economy and reality. But this has been the Trumped Up Podcast. I am your host, Keith Rao. This was Season 3, Episode 5, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court, and Election Consequences. Remember, register to vote. You can register as a Democrat, you can register as a Republican, you can register as non-affiliated to any party, you can join the Green Rainbow Party if you really want, but register to vote because you have the power to change things, whether you think so or not. Because even in a blue state like mine, if you get enough people to sign up and vote red, you might just change your state. And you might just change the country. And elections have consequences, and this one has more consequences than any election in the history of the world. So tune in next time for another interesting episode of the Trumped Up Podcast. I am Keith Rao, and I am out.